Hey guys, and welcome to my Revenant class guide. The Revenant's passive is called Vengeful Spirits, and slaying enemies attracts Vengeful Spirits, which strengthens your Spirit Wraith when it spawns to protect you from death. Basic attacks return a small amount of health. You are healed for 50% of your HP when killed, and the spawned Wraith taunts and lasts 40 seconds with a 1 minute cooldown. It has a damage coefficient of 1.5, dealing 0.75 attacks per second, getting a total of 30 hits in. It also has a slam ability that has a damage coefficient of 5.5 and uses this ability every 0.375 times a second. If you are doing Shadow Towers, you can purposefully kill yourself with your number 1 ability to spawn the Wraith before the fight to get that little bit of extra damage in during the fight. The Revenant's right click is called Bulwark Bash, and it damages and briefly taunts all enemies in a cone in front of the Revenant. It has a damage coefficient of 7.5 and a cooldown of 7 seconds. The taunt lasts for 4 seconds. The Revenant's Clash Gem buffs its right click by making Bulwark Bash lose its cooldown and apply a stacking damage over time effect to damaged enemies. It still has a damage coefficient of 7.5, however has a cooldown of 1 second instead of 7, and applies a dot that deals 0.165 times damage a second for 5 seconds. This dot stacks up to 5 times. This is your main spammable ability that you will be using on your Revenant. The Revenant's number 1 ability is called Spirit Spears, and it damages enemies in a cone in front of the Revenant, costs health to use, and deals damage based on maximum health. It has a damage coefficient of 0.2, dealing 1.5 attacks per second and draining 12.5% HP per second. If you spam this ability instead of holding it down, you deal 2.25 attacks per second and reduce the health drain to 6% per second, meaning you should always spam this ability. However, once you have your Clash Gem, it becomes obsolete and not worth using anyways. Finally, the Revenant's ultimate is called Spirit Storm, and a Cyclone pulls foes towards the Revenant and randomly fires exploding Spirit Blasts, which heal players and damage enemies. It costs health to use, press again to cancel it. The pull has a damage coefficient of 0.5 and ticks every 0.5 seconds for 10 seconds with a 40-second cooldown. The blasts have all the same properties, however, only deal 0.25 times damage every 0.5 seconds. It also costs 25% HP. You still want to use this ability whenever it is off cooldown. Even though it deals low damage, it does add to your DPS, especially if you just pop it right before the fight. Moving on to equipment, the best stats for the Revenant's weapon are critical damage, critical hit, and attack speed. The best stats for the Revenant's face are critical damage, physical damage, and attack speed. The best stats for the Revenant's hat are critical damage, percentage HP, and attack speed. The best stats for the Revenant's ring are physical damage and critical hit. And finally, the best stats for the Revenant's gems are physical damage, critical hit, and critical damage. If you are farming Uber Worlds, you can swap your weapon's 3rd stat for jump and your hat's 3rd stat for magic find along with your ring. You want attack speed on your gear as it enables you to consistently hit a basic attack in between each right click if you hold down left click while spamming right click, which thus increases your DPS. Moving on to Revenant's ally, the best ally is Rap Berserker, and finally the best Flasks and Emblems are Chaos Vial, Sure Strike Emblem, and Martial Emblem. If you are above 90% critical hit, you will swap Chaos Vial for Vial of Minion Multiplication, and Sure Strike Emblem for Beamer Emblem. You can also swap to Death Defying Vial if you are farming Uber Worlds. And that is going to be it for this guide. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will see you guys next time.